So where do we leave off? Oh yeah, Phoebes had just flown back to Australia after us kind of getting to know each other, going to Dublin together, and the mad rush to get her back. But that night was the night of my staff party, of which I wasn't really in the mood to celebrate. But I kind of had to go because I'd organised it, as much as I didn't want to be there. But it was nearly Christmas, and so the least I could do, I guess, was put a bit of a smiley face on it. But as soon as I got home, I booked my flights out to Perth. Didn't really care about booking holidays or whether I'd be allowed to take it off. The only thing that's been on my mind since the first time me and Phoebe hung out has been her. And if there's anything I can do to see her, be around her, then I don't care. The other thing that I did was order her Christmas present, which was a poster of a map of the stars from what were over us the nights that we first met. I don't know where the idea came from, but maybe just the complete coincidence of how we met. The fact that about 50 million different things had to happen for us to actually meet and then hang out and then fall in love with each other. Granted, I fell in love with her much quicker than she fell in love with me. Now you can ask her, but I'm pretty sure I might have said it on the second day. But then I think it's one of those things that, once you know, you just know. And I didn't want to waste any more time. She's perfect. But in between Christmas and booking my flights and getting out there, lots and lots of Facebook messages, lots of video chats, lots of stupid pictures we'd send each other just to make each other laugh. Obviously, we both were working at the time. There's me sat in a boardroom in Chelmsford, I believe. There's Phoebes pulling a hilarious face. There's Phoebes looking sad because of the time difference. There's me with my friend, just trying to kind of cheer her up a little bit. I sent her a letter, just because, I don't know, maybe letters have a bit more substance to them. I believe she said she'd never had a letter before or been sent flowers, so I'd send her flowers regularly. As you can see, I sent a letter just to do little things, just to show that at not one point was she ever not on my mind. There's Phoebes and Emma, wonderful Emma in the background. That's a picture of me just before a night out for a friend's birthday before we went out to Bath. Of which, again, all I could really do was think about Phoebe, so I don't think I was much good company that night. Phoebes' cousin Emma had a baby. There's Phoebes holding little Livy. Absolutely amazing, and we'll talk about those guys a little bit more in one of the next videos. Phoebes, just her smile, everything about her. And yeah, I mean, she is perfection. She's just the most beautiful person I have ever met and ever will meet. But the countdown started, and there was one day we were on a video call with each other, and we said, well, at least when we get to see each other is closer than the last time we saw each other. And then we just had a quick look and a quick count on our calendars, and it was like, actually, no, it's still further away than the last time we saw each other. And it was both of us. This is going to be an interesting one. But lots and lots of calls and messages and videos later. February took a long time to come around, and anyone that knows me knows that I'm not the biggest fan of flying, particularly for best part of 24 hours, but I was just excited. I don't think I slept. It was just, I want to get there as quickly as possible. And then stopping off the smoking areas inside some airports. This one was Doha. It's the strangest thing. So you go through the airport, just trying to get to the next terminal, and it's kind of shop, weird kind of little room with smoke coming out of it, shop. And so I popped in just to have, I think I was still smoking cigarettes back then, but popped in, and there's just the weirdest place. You go through 2 double doors, and it's just lots and lots and lots of people puffed away on cigarettes, cigars. A few of the people that work there just kind of stood behind. Anyways, enough of that. Finally arrived, of which I don't think I've ever been so excited. Phoebes was stood in the arrivals lounge and literally just jumped me and kissed me, and the whole last 24 hours of travelling just seemed to disappear. And as we were driving back to her house, I noticed what appeared to be drive-through off licenses, which is just the most hilarious, if not most Australian thing in the world. You can drive up, order some booze, and then get back on your way again. Absolutely brilliant. But that night we just chilled out at Phoebe's mum's house. I got to meet Phoebe's mum in person for the first time, which was absolutely amazing. And this was a picture I sent to my mum just to say that I was there safe. And I mean, honestly, my hair does not look great short, but the bags under my eyes, and just the sheer happiness and excitement of being there. It was a very chilled out evening that night. Until the next day, when Phoebes took me to Fremantle Market, and we had a little walk around the town, and it was about halfway through the afternoon when she mentioned that we'd be having dinner with her mum and her mum's partner and her dad and her dad's partner. Of which that's quite a lot to kind of take in when you've only been in the country for literally less than 24 hours. But I thought it's fine, my job has always been to entertain people and schmooze people and all the rest of it. So I thought, I'll get dressed up like a gentleman, just to make a good impression on all these lovely people I was about to have dinner with. Even though I'd already met Giles and Zoe over in England, and talked a few times to Kate, Phoebe's mum, over the phone, but actually to have a bit of an audience was a little bit overwhelming. We went for dinner in this place, Clancy's Fish Pub. Now, being quite dressed up was a bit of a mistake. I looked like a moron because everyone else was just in t-shirt and shorts. But nonetheless, that old adage of you can never be too overdressed, that's a lie. Don't believe it if you're going out for a few beers. Either ways, we had I don't know who that family is, but I don't have a picture of that evening. But we had the nicest time. The four of them were absolutely amazing, and it was just nice to kind of chill out and hang out. I remember we were eating in the back garden. It was something like fried mice, fried rats, something they got me to try. I'm going to have to look a bit more into this, but just as we were kind of finishing up drinks, Phoebe said that one of her friends, Reese, was having a party and that we've been invited to it. So obviously I need to get out of these clothes and I'm going to be meeting some of your friends. I mean, the whole smart suit, smart casual attire clearly backfired. It's going to backfire even more hanging out with some of your friends. So we went back to her mum's house just so I could get changed. Just as we were waiting for the taxi, Phoebe's tried some acrobatics, of which absolutely amazing. I am in awe of anyone that can do any kind of flip, cartwheel, anything like that. But we got to the party in the beautifully large house, really loud pumping music. I think I was in jeans by this point, so I felt a bit more kind of ready to talk to slightly younger people than what we were just having dinner with. And I was truly amazed that every single one of Phoebe's friends came over and sat down. Phoebe would sometimes just be talking to someone else, and one of her friends would come over, and then another one of her friends would come over, and I was just so taken aback at how lovely everyone was, and the fact they didn't need to. I think that's what kind of got me. I wasn't expecting anyone to come over. If I was just going to sat by myself for a second, I'm more than happy just to pretend to play on my phone, but no, every single one of them came over, said hello, asked how it was going, and it was genuinely lovely and absolutely touching. So thank you to all of them for that. The next day we went to Monument Park, absolutely beautiful views, and just kind of hung out and chilled out. I think it was that night that we went to go and see Auntie Jane, Cousin Emma, and the girls as well, where Phoebe's got a tiny bit wine drunk, and just as we were in the short cab ride back to Phoebe's mum's house, she said, "Oh, should we stop and get a McDonald's?" I said, "Oh, no, don't forget your mum, she's, I think it was like a slow-cooked chicken with pumpkin." I've never seen Phoebe so excited. The fact that there was some beautiful food waiting for us when we got home. But the next day, Phoebe's got up a little bit later, maybe because of the wine from the night before. She drank mine. I'm not a massive wine drinker, and we'll come on to that in just a minute as well. We went out to one of her best friend Rasheen's farms, and I've never shot a gun before. Anyone that knows me knows I'm not much of, is it a woodsman or a bushman? It might be a bushman, but yeah, just imagine me in my normal kind of top man ASOS H&M clothes on a farm, miles away from any anti-bac hand sanitizer, trying to look cool, trying to shoot air rifles and all the rest of us. I just kind of left it to Phoebe. She's a bit of a natural in pretty much everything she does. She looks good in anything she does, but that was an amazing day out. And then we drove down to go and see Phoebe's dad and partner Zoe to have dinner there, and they gave us some tickets to go to Rottnest Island, of which I've been on ferries a lot over the years, and I always thought, it'd be absolutely fine. Turns out I had a bit of a funny turn as we were just kind of hanging out on the ferry, so I just decided to sit down. It was only a half an hour ferry, but turns out my sea legs aren't what they used to be. But alas, we got there, and it's just the most beautiful place, and being there with the most beautiful person in the world just made it even more incredible. And there's pictures of us just being absolutely stupid, because that's what we normally do. And on that kind of line, anytime I'm on a beach, I always just kind of run into the sea like a hyperactive 4-year-old. Don't know why. Always have done. Still not sure if I'm allowed E-numbers on that sense. But yeah, I'm never not going to run into the sea. It was just the most absolutely beautiful setting, and just one of those perfect days. That night, Phoebe very generously cut her long, beautiful hair off for charity. That's Kate in the background. You can just about see half of me being uber useful for the whole production that was broadcast live on Facebook Live. Yeah, that's just me, just holding a camera flash just to try and make the video as high a production of value as possible. And then, yeah, the next day, Phoebe just went to go and get her hair kind of styled a little bit and a little bit coloured, so I just kind of hung around the house with Coco the dog. I think we went for a bit of a walk. I think I went and got coffee before my Valentine's Day surprise, which was a trip down south, about 3 miles. 3 miles? That's ridiculous. 3 hours down to a place called Margaret River, which was just absolutely incredible. And just as we were driving down there, trying to find somewhere to eat that night, because it was the day before Valentine's Day that we drove down there, I found on TripAdvisor a beautiful Italian restaurant in Margaret River, but we realised that the place we were staying was about half an hour, 45 minutes past where this beautiful little Italian restaurant was. So we just decided to kind of get changed in the car as opposed to going down to our place and then coming back again. But yeah, we just about managed to successfully get changed, and again, just look how incredibly beautiful she is. I was going to say we are, but no one's looking at me in this picture, aren't they? And just had the most amazing meal there before we got down to the most beautiful cottage that Phoebe had booked for us. It was in the middle of the woods, which kind of freaked me out a tiny bit. The minute we got there, we dumped the bags off, we sat out the front and had a quick beer and a cigarette, and just as I sit down, I hear this through the trees, like, oh God, what do you think that was? And I remember Phoebe saying, gun to my head, it's either 2 possums messing around or 2 big rats. It's like, right, I'm going to go inside because I'm scared. But we chilled out that night. The next day, Valentine's Day, Phoebe gave me the most amazing present I think anyone's ever gotten me. She had spent the time to make a scrapbook of the story of us so far, which I guess this is just a video form of, really. No one's ever done anything like that for me before. And I still look at it from time to time and smile at all the lovely things that she'd done for us, for me. We went to a winery for Valentine's Day lunch, of which neither of us know anything whatsoever about wine. And so when this kind of snooty waitress came over and she said, oh, what are you having? I had this kind of menu that also I wasn't quite sure about some of the things in there. So I said, oh, well, we'll just have 2 of each. And that's a piece of art, sir. I was like, oh, God. And then another more lovelier waitress came over and just asked, you guys really don't know anything about wine, do you? I said, no, we really don't. And she made it a lot more of a friendlier atmosphere for what was Valentine's Day after all. But again, just look at her, honestly. That evening we popped down to Hamlin Bay just to enjoy the sunset before the next day. On the way home we stopped off one beach, and Phoebe's dad had lent us some snorkeling gear, of which I thought, well, just because I can't really swim doesn't mean I can't snorkel. But that was not the case at all. I was about as bad at snorkeling as I was, or as I am generally, at swimming. I remember coming out and had I was bleeding from, I think, my knees, my arms, and somewhere else. Turns out it's a lot harder than some people think. Well, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just a little bit, I don't know what at times. But the last beach we stopped at, Phoebe's favourite beach, is it Milliup? I'll remember in a second. Just as we were driving down, I mean, it takes a lot for me just to kind of stop in my tracks and just admire the scenery. And again, to admire the scenery with the most beautiful girl in the world, life doesn't really get any better than that. And we chilled out on the beach. I think I ran into the sea again, as per normal. We stopped and got an ice cream. And then it was me driving us back. The first time I'd driven a manual car for... probably since I'd passed my driving test in November 2014. So I think Phoebe's just enjoyed the fact she didn't have to drive for once, and I tried my best not to stall. I only stalled it once, I think, which just when we happened to be at a set of traffic lights and I was in front of a really big scary truck. So that didn't really do much for the anxiety of trying to drive a manual car. But throughout the trip, I'd met some of Phoebe's friends and most of her family. And on one of the last days, they got me to try all things Oz. So Vegemite, and that's the video of me eating Vegemite, was actually not that bad, all things considered. I mean, I've not had it since. Doesn't mean I wouldn't have it again. And loads of other things like Anzac biscuits, Milo, the chocolate milk drink thing. I mean, I could go the rest of my life without ever having that again. Yeah, that's fine. But just to kind of ingratiate me into the Aussie way of life, should I ever move out there, then at least I'm prepared for the food. And then on the very last night, Phoebes took me into Perth after we'd hung out again with Emma in the daytime. And we just sat in the park. And I remember crying because I didn't know when I was going to get to see her again. And then she dropped me off at the airport for me to fly all the way back to England.